Felix Vander-Pallen live.
Hello, it's the 21st of August, Monday. Good afternoon to you from Accra, Ghana of Africa. I am Felix Vander-Pallen, and I'm more than delighted bringing you the maiden edition of the show Felix Vander-Pallen Live. Intriguing, exciting, and inspiring narratives here on YouTube at Felix Van P, Felix Vanpee, Felix Van P, and also on TikTok at felixvanp.50 and on Instagram at Felix Vander-Pallen, full name. Well, looks like I'm back to my first love in a special way, but today on the show, I have a gripping chit-chat with quite a fascinating broadcast journalist who reports on salient matters. But before I plunge into that, I'd like to briefly talk on the essence of always going back to our first love. I call it getting back to our first love. Well, it has to do with our jobs, our profession, our traits, what we have passion for. But before I start, let me just try to regale you a little bit with what can be termed as my heroic tale as long as my media journey is concerned. It all started in 1997 at Radio Go Latabiakoshi, where I joined the team. It was excitement, it was a dream come true. I was taken through the due process of training for a couple of weeks until the red letter day, what I call the baptism of fire, when I had to present my first show. I was thrilled behind the console, but nervous, but I managed to handle it. And life went on, I mastered the game, and of course I was able to handle other programs. I was attached to the newsroom, I learned how to edit, I read the news, and so on and so forth. A year down the line, I crossed over to Kokumlimle Fanofa in Accra, of course, to join the Multimedia Broadcasting Company Limited family, Joy FM. And it was an epoch-making 5-year media experience. I handled most programs, but I'm mostly remembered for one, Lunchtime Rhythms. I know you know that, but it's all been exciting. I also joined Radio XYZ, Sunny FM. They had a feel of me. I contributed my quota quite immensely. And TV as well, a little contract with Metro TV on Good Evening Ghana for a couple of months. TV3 also had me for a short while. I had Pen TV Breakfast, and life went on. Don't forget, I got busy along the line, also coordinating and organizing some events as well. All went well. Brilliant, great experience. I went outside of media, did a few projects here and there, and here I am back to my first love in a special way. My goodness, I'm over the moon. So the point and the simple message is, there is something about us that we always have to settle with. There's something we'll always have to get back to, what I call our first love, which could make a big difference in our lives. It could be more rewarding and more fulfilling as long as our society and our lives are concerned. It's still Felix Vander-Pallen live, inspiring, intriguing, of course, exciting narratives here on YouTube at Felix Van P, TikTok felixvanp.50, and on Instagram at Felix Vander-Pallen. Today on the show, like I said, I have a conversation with a fine gentleman, a broadcast journalist. Does a lot of revealing matters. Coming up right away.
Felix Vander-Pallen live.
You know Felix, right?
Yes.
DJ Bredash was asking me who Felix Vander-Pallen. And I'm like, you don't know Felix Vander-Pallen?
But this should be part of his continuous assessment.
Oh, no. You see, maybe he's forgotten. But for those who know the industry, the media landscape, when you hear the name Felix Vander-Pallen, you know, we're talking about one of the greats. His contribution has been enormous. And I'd love to see him back on radio anyway.
Yeah.
I know he's listening now. Felix, I think you should come back. You should. I mean, it'll be nice listening to him once again.
Just the voice alone. Oh my God.
Felix Vander-Pallen live.
So, we're on Felix Vander-Pallen live. I am Felix Vander-Pallen, and I'll be joined by Godwin Asediba.
Yes,
Godwin, good to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great.
Yeah.
Straight to the point, a bit about your educational background, especially at GIJ.
Yeah. Ghana Institute of Journalism, where I had my diploma in 2016 and then continued with my degree. Yeah. So that's it, basically.
Learning process was great. You grabbed it easily.
It was a bit tough because I was at GBC then, while schooling for my top-up degree, and it wasn't easy. Working, schooling, and the job is quite demanding. So you find yourself either researching or writing stories or editing all the time. So it was quite challenging, but I mean, I was able to maneuver through, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah. Researching is always brilliant because it keeps you open-minded.
Absolutely.
You are abreast of the issues and all that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned GBC. I presume that was your first entry to the media.
Yeah, into the media
And
space.
how was it for you? Was it strenuous getting the opportunity?
It was quite challenging because that was actually my first experience, and I didn't know how to write a script. I didn't know how to go about making a story. So I was transferred to the newsroom. That was during my national service period in 2016, where I was put the entertainment desk with Valerie Danso supervising me, and she wasn't that calm with me because I felt she wanted the best out of me. Probably she saw a potential in me that she felt could be out and be great, but then she also didn't want to be very soft with me. So I remember my very first script that I wrote, I had to sit on it from like 6 p.m. till 12 midnight before I left the office, and it wasn't easy. I had to call onto some other reporters to help me edit it, but then she told me this was a story that was going to go the next morning at 6 a.m. So I'll have to finish it before I leave the office. And she left.
At all costs.
Yes, and she didn't really care if I could do it or not. But then I felt it made me stronger because I had to think outside the box. I had to sort for help from others. And since then, after that story, the rest I did them on my own, and I think it helped me.
Yeah, it came easy.
Starting wasn't really easy for me.
The beginning of everything is a bit trying all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Yes, and Don has a song that says, "Pressure makes diamond," talking about passion and zeal, which I see in the job you do. I admire you a lot.
Thank you
for
very
the work
much.
you do.
Thank you.
And I just want to find out, at which stage on this journey did you realize this passion for reportage, for media? Did it come in handy during GIJ days, or at which stage, or earlier on in your life?
Frankly, I went to GIJ because I wanted to be on TV. I either wanted to be a presenter, an entertainment presenter, or an actor, or a news anchor. It was between that. But then, after I left and went to GBC, I realized there was more to do than just to sit on TV to read the news. And I was also taught that if you want to be an excellent broadcaster, you have to start from the basics, which is to be a reporter, to be able to have stronger understanding of issues before you can be on TV. So let's say you're on TV and then an issue happens, you have to conduct interviews, you have to own it and be commanding with
Spontaneous.
Exactly. So imagine me not going through all those processes, but just being put on TV just like that because, or maybe he has a nice face, maybe he dresses better or he speaks good. I wouldn't be able to like ask commanding questions or relevant questions to whichever issue that I'm speaking on TV. So I started from the reporting and then I just fell in love with it. The first love was the presenting thing before the reporting, but then when I started the reporting, I just fell in love with it easily. So it got to a time where even if we are not on TV, you don't really bother because you believe you have other things that you have to work on that will come out to make a lot of impact, that will educate people and a lot more. So I fell in love more with the reporting, and that is what I'm doing now.
So regardless where you are, there's impact to be made. In other words.
Absolutely.
And there's a great lesson, Godwin, what you're saying, as regards getting people on air, getting people roles to play, looking beyond how they look, especially with this media profession, and how they sound, and straight away putting them on air, but taking them through a process which you've acknowledged, paid.
Yeah.
So I think that is something worth noting.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the United Nations Research Institute on Social Development. They recognized and honored you and Komla Adom for what they call your contribution to impacting and also depicting the inequality globally.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that honor, that recognition?
I am expecting more to come because the work that we do isn't really rewarding in this country. And most journalists either are not being paid well, they are not being respected, they are being, I don't want to use brutalized, they are mishandled. Basically the respect is not there for them. So sometimes being a journalist in Ghana can be really disheartening. But then for such a recognition to come my way is very fulfilling, looking at the work that I have done. So when it came, I was like, oh wow, this is something that is, very good for me and my portfolio. So I appreciate it, I love it, but then we are still aiming for better and higher opportunities to come our way. But then I really like the fact that my work was recognized and my name was mentioned on such a bigger platform, and I really, really appreciate it.
Great. Not to forget the GJ
Yeah.
Awards.
Yeah.
Also, which one was that?
Science journalist.
Okay.
That was 2021
Wonderful.
of the year. It also had to do with the story I worked on the sanitation crisis and public toilets in Accra.
Yeah.
So I went to a slum somewhere around Old Fadama, where they will have to squat on woods and defecate in plastic basins for other people to carry and deposit somewhere else. And it was a heart-wrenching story, looking at where we are now and how, or the things some people have to go through just to ease themselves. Yeah, it wasn't a comfortable place at all. So I felt it was a story that I needed to tell and told it well, which actually earned me that award. And I believe, bit by bit, more awards to come, hopefully.
And talking about how heart-wrenching it is, sometimes I imagine, I sit back and I look at you, admiring you, but at the same time asking questions. How does Godwin feel when he touches on some of these sensitive issues, some emotional issues? You touched on the cemetery story.
Yeah.
What happens at the cemetery? I can't remember. There's this gentleman you met on the streets. What's his name? The guy who was left
that was recently. Abbas.
Yeah. And didn't have a place to stay, had nothing to eat. How did you come across that? How I'm wondering how you moved to do that. And how you're able to tell that this is a real story that needs attention, because people fake, don't they?
Yeah, people do fake. Yeah. But my journalism is channeled towards human interest stories, and also at the end getting results for them. I don't believe in hammering on issues that at the end wouldn't get any results at all. I feel it's a waste of time. And this kind of work that we are doing is for the country and for humanity. So I believe if someone is in a place that is not comfortable, it will be okay for me to highlight the problem of that particular person or the problems of that particular persons for the issues to be resolved. So for the mortuary, for instance, that I worked on, it had to do with the crisis, or let me say the challenges that some of the mortuary workers go through whilst they are in their line of work. Most of them lack the right PPEs like gloves, shoes, goggles, things that they need to wear to protect themselves while they work on dead bodies.
Exposing them to disease and dangers.
Exactly. And I felt it wasn't safe for them, because imagine walking there, you see them using their bare hands to operate on dead bodies, bodies that are rotting away. You see maggots coming away from them. Their cold room was also in a right shape. It wasn't in a right shape. You see bodies deteriorating, even some turning into skeletons. So being in such a space that is not well equipped enough to store bodies, or well functional enough to store bodies, and you also not having the right materials to wear to, put yourself in a safety manner whilst you work on the bodies, I just felt like it was something that I needed to bring to light.
And you did that
yes,
perfectly. The other one I quite remember also has to do with a report on some attacks on citizens in a certain area by perhaps a section of the police or something. Some of these stories, whether we like it or not, brings to light some bad nuts and things that are done illegally. Now, after doing these stories, is there any way that you feel threatened? Do you receive any threats? in the sense that you're exposing some people and thereby, creating a situation where they could lose their jobs.
Well, sometimes I'm quite sensitive with my reportage because we live in a country where corruption is embedded in us. Not to say that I am a corrupt person, but then it is something that is gradually becoming, or it has become natural among us. So let's say right from childhood, you are being given money not to do something or not to say something to someone, or you're being given money not to go somewhere. You are being deceived, or I don't know how to put it, being encouraged in one way or the other not to do something. So growing up, your mind is already corrupted because you know that when someone gives you money not to do something, you wouldn't do it. So yeah, I tell my stories not to really put people into trouble, like leading to them losing their
But
jobs.
the point is, you don't do that deliberately.
No.
But indirectly, it could bring about.
Yeah, but then mine is to get the duty bearers on their feet.
Absolutely,
to do their work.
I agree. Yes.
So sometimes I'm a bit, soft when it comes to pardoning them in my kind of scripting. But then I also believe that when someone does something that is outrageously bad, you need to bring it into the limelight, like pedophile, raping someone, doing ritual stuff, and all of that. That is something I believe is a bit inhumane that can be brought to light for whoever that is involved to be penalized. But when it's quite pardonable, I try to, be soft around it.
What if some people say, in trying to be soft, you're condoning?
Oh, no, that's why it depends on the sensitivity of the issue.
Of it, okay.
Yes, because I wouldn't want someone who also has a family at home and owns a bigger position in the company, lose their job out of my story, goes to sit at home, and they'll definitely, he or she will be the breadwinner of the family, and they will be at home not having enough to cater for themselves and all of that.
Your recent story, which has to do with menstruation, women.
Yeah.
I'm a man, but we saw the lines. The ladies in-house were speaking on behalf of women in general.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of my period.
Yeah.
It had to do, the story also covered the fact that for the issue of lack, he called it menstruation poverty, if I remember.
My period is not a shame.
My period is not a shame. I'm trying to draw the line because some may wonder, are we trying to look at a situation where we are encouraging perhaps governance or the state to assist women, or is it just about something people see as shameful in the process of menstruation? Where do we draw the line? How do we relate the two?
So it had to do with both.
Both.
The high prices of sanitary pads nowadays and those who are also resorting to using rags. So the rags thing has been there for a very long time. And at this point where sanitary pads are in, girls have been encouraged not to use it because when you use the rags, according to medical doctors or practitioners, it is not okay for you to use a rag, wash it, and use it again.
Unhygienic.
Because it comes with infertility issues, genital-related infections, and all of that. So it is advisable to use the disposable sanitary pads. And these girls are unable to afford those pads because it is quite expensive, you understand? So most of them will rather prefer to use the rag because they believe if they use it, it's something they can wash, dry it, and use it again. They wouldn't have to spend much money into getting the disposable sanitary pads.
We want to stay in that comfort zone.
Exactly.
And we hear that some of the guys also take advantage, promise it. Hey, Charlie,
That's
these guys.
true. That's true.
So sad, too bad. It's not funny anyway.
It's not. It's
not
actually a serious issue. You have girls who have gotten pregnant out of that and given birth at teenage.
Too bad.
Too bad. And out of sanitary pad, you go for a solution from a man, and then the man demands sex, and it actually doubles your crisis from not affording sanitary pad to now getting pregnant.
Yeah,
it means you have to drop out of school to be able to take care of your child.
Quite unfortunate.
And then the issue has actually been in Parliament for some time where groups have advocated for the scrapping of taxes on sanitary pads to come down. Mm-hmm. There was a point where the Speaker of Parliament will have to pause the House to address those issues because he wasn't even aware that there were taxes on sanitary pads. And he made mention that when the Minister of Finance come to address the nation on the budget, they would take that out. But then the minister came in and we never heard anything about scrapping of taxes on sanitary pads as well.
Now, you also did some work, coverage of a story, High on Glue. And it's interesting, pretty interesting the way you put it, that some of these folks sniff the glue for what you called a cheap high. Now, how are you able to get them to open up to you on such matters, like High on Glue, to tell you all that, there is to it and how they do it and all that? You seem to blare their faces on screen and all that, but how do they open up to you? It's sensitive and confidential. How do you do it?
High on Glow was a story that meant a lot to me. It was something that was happening in the dark that I felt I had to bring to the light. But then what was more disheartening around this topic was that most of the people who were involved are the youth. And then I felt it was destroying their life. It was destroying their life, and people did not really know much about it. So you realize that when the story was aired, or when I broke the story, a lot of people were shocked that aside people, smoking marijuana, doing all sort of drugs and other things, inhalation of super glue was actually something that they were involved in to get a cheap high. Mind you, this is something that could also go in a long way to affect their brain, gives them heart diseases and a lot of things that they are actually not aware of. And these children as young as 19, 18 were also involved in the act. And these are acts that are picked up from people who were actually into the inhalation of the glue. And when you go to most of the ghetto areas, not just in Accra, also in Techiman, where I did a story, in Kumasi, it is happening in a lot of places. And the inhalation of glue is something that is actually hidden, that most people do not really know about until I brought it into the limelight. So the aim was to also get the Accra Psychiatric Hospital to be able to give out free counseling to drug addicts, because accessing such care in mental health facilities can be really expensive to overcome your addiction. So the story was also to inform the mental health authority that something of this was happening, where it was also revealed that other people inhale petrol because they like the smell, and they also sort of get some sort of highness from it, and it makes the abusers feel comfortable when they are done inhaling it. So it was also to inform them that such a thing was happening, and that they should be up and doing to ensure that they come up with ideas that can make people who are involved in an act to stop. I also had to blur their faces because these are children, and you might never know what the future holds for them. You grow up to be a very good person in the future, and then people see that you've granted such an interview and they will want to use it against you, which is not supposed to be so. So I had to let them know that this story that I am doing is not just to educate you, but also to educate the public out there that such a thing is happening. And that with addiction, you cannot overcome it. You cannot control your addiction until you go under some sort of training. So it was also to help them, for people to be able to come to their aid. There have been a number of stories that I've worked on crack cocaine and a lot more, where we've had rehab centers come to pick up the individuals that I've shown in the story, that I've used as case studies to tell the story. So that was what the aim was all about, for people to come in to help all these people who are addicted into the inhalation of the glue. So that was what basically went into the convincing of those people to speak to me without me showing their face, so it doesn't get to affect them in the future, and also for them to be able to get the help that they need to overcome the addiction when it comes to the sniffing of glue.
So after a hard day's work, hard week's work, how does Godwin cool off? I've seen you show some beach, like seaside pictures. Are you a beach person or something? How's it like
I
socially?
really love to have fun. When you see me on TV and then you see me outside TV, you will think that I'm a different person because I'm really soft out of TV. Maybe on TV you see me to be that serious guy, but then outside
we want
TV,
results. We got to be serious.
I let everything down and then try to have fun as much as I can. The least opportunity that I get is either I rest, do some small reading, or I'm out there chilling.
Yeah. Reading and chilling. I love that. Great. Now, finally, perhaps a word for young folks out there who are looking up to people like you, doing great stories, getting results, who are looking forward to find themselves in such positions. What should be their posture? What should be the attitude?
I will say that journalism in this country is all about dedication. It's all about passion. If we are not driven by passion, you can never be in this space because it has to do with a lot of research, a lot of scripting, a lot of work. You can't be in the journalism field wanting to thrive and you are reluctant. It will never work for you. You have to be up on your feet. You have to do a lot of reading and research. You need to have top issues on your fingertips because at any point you will be sent to go and do something, and then imagine you telling your producer or your editor that, oh, I haven't read around this issue, so I don't think it's an issue that I would like to follow up on. It will be embarrassing on yourself as a journalist. So you need to do a lot of reading.
You'll be given uninformed information.
Yeah, and you also have to research more so that whatever you give out will be timely and factual. Absolutely. So that whoever that is listening to you will be able to fall in love with you and your work. So I believe that if you want to be a journalist, you just will have to spend most of your time in research or reading so that you can grow more in your line of work.
It's all about reading.
Yeah.
So reading makes a full man. Thank you, Godwin.
Thank you too
for being on the show.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
That's Godwin of TV3. Godwin Asediba, TV3 journalist, doing a great job. It's still Felix Vander-Pallen live. And it's your man Felix. Stay on.
Felix, let me pronounce the way he does it.
Yeah, Felix Vander-Pallen.
Cookie tea style.
Yeah,
Felix Vander-Pallen.
That's how he himself used to say it on radio.
Yeah, Felix.
Yeah, Felix Vander-Pallen.
Felix Vander-Pallen.
It's Felix Vander-Pallen live on YouTube and other channels. My name is Godwin Asediba, broadcast journalist.
Felix Vander-Pallen live.
Hope you enjoyed that tete-a-tete with Godwin Asediba. Awesome broadcast journalist. Trust you got some nuggets in there. It's still Felix Vander-Pallen live on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok. Remember to comment, like, share, and please do subscribe. And you can feed and watch this episode as many times as possible throughout this week till I come your way again on Monday at 1:30 p.m. GMT. Thank you so much. I love you with whole heart. Merci. Adios.
Felix Vander-Pallen live. Starting Monday, the 21st of August.
And every Monday at 1:30 p.m. GMT.